Now the place I'm taking you today is an absolute gem. It has natural history, it has modern history, and it potentially has ancient history, which is something we don't get to say in Brisbane very often. It also has ample parking and you can take your dog here. It's got it all. This walk can be found near Eleanora Park on North Esplanade in Wynnum. To find this absolute nature and history gem, you want to walk down here to here. And over here, which has 530 metres of boardwalk which go through the mangroves. Now, if you know me, you know that I'm a keen fisherman. So places like this are somewhat magical to me. And one curious thing that happens when you're a fisherman and you're catching fish. I've been catching fish since I was a kid. I've been catching freshwater fish, been catching saltwater fish, I've been catching I catch mud crabs. I love all of that kind of stuff. And when you fish, you start becoming aware of how all of nature is interconnected with one another. You'll open up a fish and you'll see what it's been eating, and you start seeing the interconnectedness of nature. When you come to a place like this, it's absolutely crawling with life. You've got crabs, you've got shrimps, you've got prawns, you've got all sorts of things come to mangroves to feed. So actually, look at that. You've got ducks over there. You've got all sorts of stuff, which makes a place like this really, really magical. Now, at the end of this boardwalk begins our history. We turn down this path here. Now, I don't think this area is dog friendly, so probably don't take them here. And whatever you do, don't wear your best shoes through here, because you're going to walk through some of the foulest smelling mud you're ever going to come across in our area, I reckon. So what's behind me is actually a midden. Now the interesting thing about middens is, whilst we don't know how old this one is particularly, we have found that the ones on Moreton Island, they found that some of them were as old as 2,300 years old. So that technically makes it ancient history. But wait a minute, Lachlan, what does Moreton Island have to do with Wynnum? Well, quite a lot actually. See, according to this paper written by Fisher, Mibu and Burns et al. Of the Griffith University, Moreton Island and this part of Wynnum are all traditional Quandamooka country. And according to them, these people have inhabited this area for more than 25,000 years. So yeah, this place could be potentially very, very old indeed. But the cool thing is about a midden is they're actually a rubbish dip, and you can see what the world was like for the people who made them. You can see that quite a lot of their diet was cockle shell. So this one here, this looks like a cockle to me, and this looks like a whelk, and this looks like some kind of sea snail. So you can see that this area was very, very rich in cockles, because that's mostly what's on the ground here. We have records of how the Aboriginals lived, and we have that through a gentleman by the name of John Anarchy. Now the cool thing about John Anarchy's journal is it was written in 1824 or there around, and therefore it's unadulterated by political correctness. Quite a lot of the publications we have now they're quite political, so they're not very accurate. So that's something that's very cool about this journal. I'll try and link it in the description. Now, in his journal, he writes about how the different Aboriginal tribes in the area sort of would interact with one another. And he talks about how they would distinguish themselves from one another. So on Bribie, where he was, the Aboriginals would wear beeswax and charcoal. They'd adorn themselves with that. And then he says that other tribes in the area would wear white paint. But he says the southern tribes would adorn themselves with what he calls red jasper. I think what he actually means is this. This is ochre. And what happens is the Aboriginals would grind it together, they'd grind it up, or they'd roast it. He says that they'd roast it, and then when they'd make it into a powder, and they'd adorn their bodies with it. But I accidentally got some of this on me, and do you see it makes there's a orangey kind of hue? This is what and it's interesting, you read a document like that, that's so old, 1824, and Then you come to one of these southern midden heaps and you find ochre. I find that really magical when you find a piece of the literature and then you read something from that time and then you come to one of these places and the ochre is still here. There's something really beautiful about that, and I really believe these places should be protected. They're worth respecting, and this history is too. Anyway, onwards. Another weird thing that's over here is this. Now, this boat doesn't appear on the official shipwrecks list for this area. So why is it here? Just amazing standing inside the ship. It's degrading at such a speed. When I came here last time, this part here was sort of sitting up. It's just falling apart. It's like, you would not even know it was made out of metal. You'd think it was made out of wood. This metal is so fragile that realistically, it breaks like it was made out of wood. It's so amazingly corroded. It's amazing. Like the midden heap, I suspect this is something that someone has just dumped here when they didn't want it anymore. Because all around Queensland, there was once a problem where people were just dumping boats that they didn't want. So the Queensland government started this initiative.
In 2018, the Queensland Government committed $20 million over 4 years to the War on Wrecks program to remove derelict vessels and other hazards to help make these waterways pristine and safe. A further $15 million for 3 years was committed in the 2022-23 budget, building on the success of the initial 4-year program.
So I'm guessing that this boat is one that was either forgotten or is on their to-do list, or because it's nearly disintegrated, it's simply not worth removing because it'll soon be dust. So from here, we go up here, up this path and up this hill to another real gem, hidden in plain sight. Now we have this, we have a bird hide. So you can come up here and watch birds and you think, well, who cares about that? These places are protected under the Ramsar Agreement. But what is Ramsar? Well, the Ramsar Convention is an international agreement that protects wetlands. But why protect something like this? Because wetlands are some of the most economically valuable ecosystems in the world, and yet we are losing them 3 times quicker than we are losing forests. So in 1993, Moreton Bay was recognised as internationally important and made a Ramsar site. And one of the many reasons this happened was because of shorebirds. See, every year, up to 30,000 to 50,000 birds migrate here every year, and some for as far away as Siberia. Some, such as the eastern curlew and the sandpiper curlew and the great knot, are actually listed as critically endangered. And sadly, most of these birds that migrate here are declining quickly because of habitat destruction and climate change and other reasons. So we get less and less of them every year. But when can you see these birds? So yeah, we see all of these kind of wader birds. They come here, and you see in Moreton Bay, the largest numbers of largest number of waders are seen at peak migration from October to March. So like now, essentially. Low tide is the best time to see them. And when you're out there, keep your eyes peeled for an eastern curlew, a sandpiper curlew, or even a great knot. That way, you'll be able to tell people you saw these birds before they went extinct, and you'll be revered like someone who saw a thylacine or a dodo before they too were lost. Anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. Cheers! Thanks.